Now available in paperback and coming to Kindle Unlimited, John Haynes, Dark Succubus. The man who rules the world is tempted by a sultry succubus in this all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get John Haynes, Dark Succubus in paperback or pre-order on Kindle Unlimited today.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. I can't wait.
Feel free to jump in. Feel free to jump in.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, guys, that's the first half of the Judge Joe Brown Show. I am Valerie Denise Jones. 929-477-1167 is the number that I want you to share, post on your social links. Tell a friend who will tell a friend, because we're here every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We got some background noise, so we're going to figure out how to fix that here just in a second. But until then, I've got something that's going to set the mood. And when we come back, we'll hear from Judge Joe Brown, because he is ready to talk about this subject, and I can't to say it. I am excited. Y'all just don't know. The new James Bond, Lashana Lynch, breaks the martini glass ceiling, and we're going to find out whether or not that matters. We'll be back after this audio break. I am Valerie Denise Jones, guys. I hope you're ready to have some fun. I am in favor of Lashana Lynch, but I don't think I am in good company. So what we did was we invited a few people to join Judge Joe Brown. Today we got Vernon Jackson, attorney Vernon Jackson, on the line. Of course, my phone. I'm getting all kind of text messages because people were crunked up and ready for this. But Vernon Jackson, again, is a part of our panel. He is a judge. You'll like this one. He's a criminal defense attorney, author, and founder of the Building Powerful Minds Youth Empowerment Program out of Jacksonville, Florida. We also invited one of our old buddies, a friend of the show, Shawn James, who is an author, so he'll be joining us. We got Maurice Duncan, also 2OG Suicide, decided he is going to hang out with us. We're going to start there, but guys, please press the number 1 if you'd like to chime in here in just a bit, because I want to give the panel, our invited guests, a chance to talk about this subject. But again, because I feel like I am it y'all versus one and the panel versus one, just versus me, might be the estrogen. I don't know. I'm really happy to see a melanated woman in that position, but the judge seems to differ. He begs to differ. But I want to play this just real quick, just to set the tone, just in case some of you do not know what the heck we're talking about. But this will explain everything, and when we come back, we're going to, toss it over to the judge, get his take first, and then open up the panel. Welcome, everybody. I see we got a lot of new callers. Welcome, guys, to the show. We appreciate you so much. Love you to life. Here we go.
Previously, we talked about the new Little Mermaid being black. Well, how about a black James Bond? Actress Lashana Lynch, aka Maria Rambeau in Captain Marvel, will reportedly play Agent 007 in the next Bond movie. This will make Lashana the first female and first black actor to hold the 007 agent title. But before your jaw drops further, she will not be James Bond per se. Rather, her character is Bond's replacement after his retirement in the show. At the start of the new film, M apparently says, "Come in 007," and in walks not Daniel Craig, but Lashana Lynch. So far, the iconic 007 codename has been held by only white men, from Sean Connery and Roger Moore to Pierce Brosnan and Daniel Craig. Naturally, fans are cheering this casting as another score for diversity. But then there are the naysayers, who are pissed and think that Lashana will actually be James Bond. Well, firstly, get your facts right, and secondly, even if she was, so what? We know the franchise has a long history of being sexist. It's about time that a younger woman in a Bond film is celebrated as an agent, not objectified as another Bond girl. And let's be honest, the best part of the show are the songs.
All right. I agree with that guy. All right. So, Judge, what are your thoughts?
Was that a male or a female talking?
That was a guy, an Asian.
You see, what you got was this androgynous, fluid sex nonsense. And, of course, some sissy like that would approve of it. But, you see, we just got through talking to this righteous brother from Compton, and you heard what he went through. And we can all attribute the core of his problem to deficient motherhood. His mama wasn't a mama. And right now,
at all.
Right now, the idea with them glorifying women taking male roles when they have become so derelict in their responsibility of handling the motherhood role is just criminal. Now, to give you a parallel, there is a show on right now called Pose. It's on TV. So they got all these little
P-O-S-E, Pose. Correct. It's on Netflix.
They got all these little Skittles boys playing roles that would have historically had ladies playing them, or women. So if you glanced at it and you didn't throw up, you got a strong stomach. Let's just take a classic role that Halle Berry would play. Let's take a role that Beyonce would play, or let's take a role that J-Lo would play, or Angela Jolie would play, and you put, after a long series where it's a woman, let's put a guy in there to play that. See, it's ridiculous. They didn't create, see what they did is, don't give a damn about spoiling it, but 007 is Bond's license number, his license to kill. Now, Ian Fleming wrote that, and Ian Fleming based his James Bond on a real-life gentleman named James Bond, who was part of the British Special Operations Executive. That is their espionage during World War II /MI6. And the exploits you see the James Bond do on screen actually belong to this guy to an extent. And he died a couple of years ago, and BBC last year had a big thing on him, okay, where they honored him for his service. But because of the nature of what they did, it has remained part of the British Secrets Act, State Secrets Act, so it was not subject to being revealed. But what goes on is she gets his code, 007, his license to kill. He's retired. So they bring him back out of retirement to consult. But then they switch this whole thing over to, we got to give James Bond, the person, a lesson. He was so misogynistic. He had no right, and it was wrong for him to seduce all these women and womanize like that. So they're trying to teach him the meaning of #MeToo. Now, there's a time and place for that, and it's not ruining this franchise. The first James Bond movie was on in 1956. It was a 1-hour special for TV. And then in the early 60s, I think it was 62, they had the first James Bond movie. And it's been going all these years. And now they want to turn around and mess it up. That's like Captain Marvel that this woman was in. For 62 years, Captain Marvel was a man, and then they made it into a woman, and the movie was a flop. And this chick, see, this is the bad part. She was one of these mothers we were talking about, a single mother in the movie with a bunch of children by different babies' daddies. So the kids go out there, look at this movie, and they identify her with this single mother thing, and they don't get the idea that it's a different character. So they're in their minds associating single parent female head of household with all these boys she's messing up with now 007. And see, Idris, black English brother, should have had the James Bond thing. They could have given it to Wesley Snipes. They could have given it to Isaiah Washington. They got an American director, and it was some little sissy that was working off in there who came up with the bright idea. Oh, let's replace James Bond as 007 with a woman. Oh, how fascinating. See, that is ridiculous. I mean, it's in today's time with all these sissified boys, you're going to take away the imagery and convert it to a girl. And then we got some background. We did an episode on my new show for the pilots. It hadn't aired yet, but one of them is we found out there are more boy virgins 25 and under than there are girl virgins 25 and under. There are more boys living with their parents 30 and over than there are girls. Only 44% of the workplace is male. Only 32% of the undergrad students are male. Only 36% of the grad students are male. Something is wrong with this picture. Only 28 to 30% of the high school graduates each year in the United States for the last 17 years have been male. Something's wrong with that picture, and they want to compound it by taking away this masculine imagery and giving it to a woman. I mean, what are we going to do? When that music you were playing, you know, what goes on with that is the old James Bond, and through every one of them, 007 comes out and he pulls his Walther PPK, and bam, he fires. And you look down the muzzle, well, the bore of the weapon, you can see the rifling. So are we supposed to watch her go play gunplay? What is this? I know Britain is a decadent, sick third world country now, or third-rate power behind two of their colonies, India and Pakistan. But, I mean, do we have to spread that sickness over here?
Right. I want to open up the lines, but I wanted to know if I had to play this, if you would have started out that way, because TMZ describes it as white rage. Here we go.
This week in White Rage, Lashana Lynch, who's an actress, she was in Captain Marvel, it was reported that she is going to be playing 007 in the next James Bond movie.
What?
Yes. Internet went crazy without reading the actual article. Apparently, in the next Bond movie, Daniel Craig, who will be playing Bond, has retired. As he's retired, the code name 007 has been given to another agent, Lashana Lynch. So she's 007 that has to go get the other 007 out of retirement.
So in the end, Daniel Craig takes it back.
Takes it back.
All right, so I'm going to stop it there because, like I said, that's how I saw it. He retires, he gives it to someone else, and, you know, the story. All right, so here we go. 929-57-575.
That's what I said.
Welcome,
That's what I said.
Shawn.
That's what's part of my dialogue, too, remember.
Yeah, but I guess I just did not see it as, you know, another gay agenda because we know that that's true. I saw it as a step in the right direction, just as the Little Mermaid is black now, so I was all excited, and especially being that she was
boy as a lover. But she got a white boy as a lover in Prince. for the Little
Well,
Mermaid.
I don't think it's going to be
nice?
perfect on the onset. You know what I mean?
No,
but I was just happy that it wasn't a biracial or a multicultural looking, can't really tell her ethnicity. I was so glad to see it was a chocolate woman of a darker hue who he passed the torch to. And so I didn't see it the way that I saw it as a victory for us, being that we have to fight and struggle for every single thing. But I do get your point, Judge. I do get your point. Welcome, Shawn James, to the show, 407-308. Welcome, Maurice Duncan. And also, Judge, we got Vernon Jackson in 904-707. Welcome, guys, to the show. And Suicide, you are welcome to talk. Your mic is still live. So, guys, I want to give you guys a chance to talk. You heard all versions of it, plus the original theme, James Bond music. And right now, I just want to know how you feel. Do you guys agree with the judge? You want to expand on the conversation? It's your turn to do so at this time.
When it comes down to the whole James Bond thing, I think it's really ridiculous.
Can you give your name, please, before you
This is Shawn James.
State your name? Thank you.
This is Shawn James. And I think it's really ridiculous the way they just keep trying to transpose these women onto the male characters. It's just not appropriate, especially when you look at Hollywood and we have all of these great original stories featuring heroines out there that they could adapt with original characters, but they decide to just keep trying to transpose it on the male characters in an effort, I believe, to emasculate these male characters and lower their value as men and lower their value overall. It's just inappropriate as I see it, especially when you look at Hollywood and they have all these resources, but then they don't want to go out and have the courage to make new original characters for women, but they just don't want to do that. But they just want to take the man's role, and that's part of what SJWs try to do. They take the male characters that are already established and try to make them into women because they don't want to put the work in making their own franchise.
Amen to that.
Oh,
Yep.
wow, I get it. I get your point now. Okay, it's coming a little clearer now. I understand. Emasculating. Okay, not so much the gay agenda, but I got it. All right, anybody else who wants to speak? Judge, do you have anything you want to say to that before?
He said it. He said it.
Okay,
See, you
all
can get away. See, this is part of that effort to establish fluid gender, which is part of that Skittles thing. It's their right to do it, but I don't have to approve of it. We don't have to go patronize the movie where they do it. It's just, okay, a woman can do anything a man can do. No, they can't. The men can't do everything a woman does. No, some try.
At all.
Yes.
Okay.
And
please state your name.
This is Vern Jackson.
Hello, welcome to
And
the show.
yes, ma'am. I agree with what the judge says, and I think for black people to understand and to place this into the proper context, we have to realize that, as Irritated Jeannie always says, the true definition of being conscious today is recognizing that every other group is trying to wipe us out. Every other racial group is trying to wipe us out. And the main tool one of their main tools that they're using now is, like the judge just said, what I call the gender fluidity movement. And as Africans, we always had a clear understanding of the masculine versus the feminine, and there's no fluidity or there's no mixing it up. And so as far as our identity and our way of life, it was built upon that. And our enemies recognize that. And so anything you see where they're attempting to create confusion, Neely Fuller always talked about how the enemy's main tool is confusion. And right now it's gender confusion or gender fluidity. And you won't understand the moves that they're making as far as, like the judge said, putting women into masculine roles and men into feminine roles until you understand what they're attempting to do. And once they do that, if you think we have it bad now as far as the black family, single motherhood, imagine how bad it's going to be when you can't even say that a man is supposed to be a man and a husband and a father, and a woman is supposed to be a wife and a mother and a nurturer, because it's politically incorrect gender is fluid, and a woman can be whatever she wants to be, and a man can be whatever he wants to be. That's going to be the death knell of the black family structure.
Yep.
Amen.
Wow.
Yep.
Suicide, I'd like to hear from you.
Man, I agree with everything that's been said so far, and the way I feel, I'm like, what's next? They gonna take the movie The Godfather and make it a woman? They gonna make The Godfather 4 a woman?
Okay,
well,
so Maurice. Oh, sorry.
I got a question.
Well,
what if
go ahead.
What if they made a movie about the life story of Venus and Serena, and they let men play their roles?
Whoa.
Nobody would find that okay.
Nope, at all.
See, we are talking fictional characters, and those are real people, though. That's why I'm trying to understand. I get it from the perspective that you just introduced, because it's called emasculating the man, and it is part of that agenda. But I just see it as movement. I did, but I also I see clearly what you guys are saying. I get it.
Well, look at fictional characters, Valerie. Look, Thor, Norse god of thunder. In the comic books right now, they have morphed Norse god of thunder, Thor, into a woman. Like I said, the movie this woman got some fame in, Captain Marvel, for 62 years was a man, and they made it into a woman in this movie. You see where this is going? It's like Marvel.
I do see where it's going.
Marvel, after buying the rights from Stan Lee, who died a few months ago, great creator, and gave black folk a break going back decades. What you wind up with is they issued a pledge not long ago. They are either going to create or change 50% of the Marvel superheroes to be gay. That is the population percent. So what are they doing? It's propaganda. They want everybody to buy into that. And see, it's self-hate. If we had I'm black and I'm proud, they need the equivalent. I'm a man and I'm proud. I'm a woman and I'm proud. But they got that fluid gender thing. We know you hate yourself, so you can be something else. And forget motherhood. That's passe. Women can do what men do. Well, see, there's another thing about what men do and what James Bond does. He's one badass, and he goes out to protect his country. Whether or not you deal with Great Britain, you got to admire manhood even in your enemy. Because if it's your enemy and it's a man and you defeat him, that makes you look better. If he's a pussy, and you go off and defeat him, you haven't done anything. But James Bond is somebody that puts his life on the line for his country. So you're trying to put the woman in this position, take the man out, and then, all of what was described happens. But the bottom line is the message to that movie that you get away with is forget all of these heroics. We're more concerned about #MeToo than somebody trying to sit up there and put his life on the line and risk it over and over and over again, and by just pure luck has managed to survive through 26 books.
So let me introduce something, because TMZ said something, and again, that's how I saw it. White rage. White people are thinking about 24 years from now, it's possible they'll be the minority, and so they don't want black faces to replace their white face. That's how I saw it. I get your point about that part, but I think that, being that he's a white man, I saw it as a victory for black people. Do you not see that at all? Like, that's why they called it white race. So are you just not happy at all that it's a black person who he passed the torch to?
I'm not happy at all, because what they've been doing is using black women as guinea pigs to prop up and push trial balloons. In other words, they could have had a black man. They would not have a black man. That's like the new $20 bill with a woman's face on it. Okay, she got 200-some slaves to freedom, but what about Frederick Douglass? What about Thurgood Marshall? What about Martin Luther King? So you slap the black race in the face by not putting a black man on that bill. You slap
So
black
when
men
is
in
it
the
going
face
to be
because,
our turn then, Judge? When is going to be the
well,
proper
wait a
time
minute.
for a black
you can
woman?
have your turn. Why don't they have a good black mother who ain't one of these Sambo Aunt Jemima types that Oprah puts out and Tyler Perry masquerades as being as a trans? Why don't you have a good mother figure out there? You know, that's what we need. Black women need the imagery of good motherhood because we are getting let down.
So is LaShawn a representative of a bad mother? I'm confused right there.
She in the movie Marvel, yes. And what
okay,
happens
I'm not
is,
a Marvel head, so you'll have to.
in other words, she's a single mother with a bunch of kids she's had out of wedlock, so she's one of the sub-heroines in Captain Marvel. So why are you taking that to glorify it to the kids? That's like Kim Kardashian.
Oh, I'm understanding it now. Gotcha.
See, the Kardashians
so they used the
make
wrong
their money
person
off of
to
Kim
put in
giving
that
up for
position.
that booty in that video, and they put that money, this $4.95 a hit, has been going on all over the country on all the major outlets. You can get it for $4.95, or the longer, boring edition for $7.95. That money goes into the youngest one to set up her cosmetics empire. Meet the Kardashians.
So would
is
you
all
have
about
been,
keeping that alive. See, and that's
would
negative
you have been
for these
happier if
kids
they would have
to
put
look.
like an Angela Bassett or somebody who's held in high regard? Would you still?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes. Why they got to put all this negativism out there, all this stupid, where the image of black womanhood is caught up with that crap, that insane poison you see on Atlanta Housewives, where they got 11 of them and ain't but 2 of them married. How you going to be a housewife and you single?
Gotcha.
See, that nonsense is what they're doing. And then if you look at the reunion they have once a month, my ex used to watch all that recorded. The reunion they have once a month where Anderson Cooper comes off of CNN and he lets himself out and he flounces around with his gay self, open collared, and flutters his hands. And you find out that every one of the executive producers on every one of those wives shows is not only gay, he's a flamer. What does that say about what they're trying to do to destroy the image of traditional womanhood? You know, women have got some bad things going. They've got some good things going. Yeah, you put on makeup trying to beautify, but we men appreciate your efforts. Now you take the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition. Sports Illustrated has all these fit young men, whether they're golfers or track runners, football, baseball, basketball, you name it, they're in there. So they used to have these very fit, beautiful-looking women in there. Now you got beautiful Tyra Banks in a yellow thong bikini on the cover. She's 50, looking good, and it says Tyra Banks from model to mogul, rich woman. But then you turn in the first center page, you got a big old fat 300-pound woman, white woman, and then you got a 280-pound fat sister, and they got on thong bikinis that look like floss up between somebody's teeth. They got all these out-of-shape creatures that are between 19 and 23, where you got these fit young men, but you got these heart attack, stroke victims who will be paralyzed by the time they get 35 from what's going on. That's what they're putting in there. Then I look down and you say, it's no longer the same consortium. This consortium used to handle nothing but women's publications. Now they've got a hold of Sports Illustrated, so what are they trying to do? Change the standard of beauty so some sloppy whale that's walking around on land is supposed to be in the same company as Tyra Banks.
Ouch.
It's like that
All
thing.
right.
Remember Hidden Figures? Hidden Figures? Where they had those sisters played the mathematicians with NASA? I remember them from when that was really going on. There was some fine miniskirt wearing, afro wearing sisters. And now what they got? Some dumpy, frumpy ones, and 1 or 2 of them are big fat ones. That isn't what they look like. But you see what they're trying to do with that image. Look what they're doing with the image. They had that boy that played Black Panther playing Thurgood Marshall. Thurgood Marshall looks most likely, what's that brother that plays the family head in Empire, the one that runs that corrupt record label?
Terrence Howard.
I can't
Terrence Howard.
Yeah, that's what Thurgood Marshall looks like, but this guy they had playing it looks nothing at all. And then I read a little blurb somebody sent me from LGBT that they copied. It said this is part of the effort to drive a wedge between black people to get the light-complected ones against the dark ones and the dark ones against the light-complected ones. See, they're doing all this to us. And then you put this in there. Oh, right, we got a sister. Yeah, well, why did they pass over the men? See, like, for example, in the earliest James Bond movies, there's a character called Felix Leiter. He is with the American CIA. The first few James Bond movies, he's white. Now he's black. In the first few James Bond movies, Miss Moneypenny, James Bond's or 007 secretary, is white. Now she's black. Why didn't they expand her role? And by the way, she got out of field operations when it got rough. She said, no, I don't want to go back in the field. They could have brought her back out if they wanted a female character. No, they wanted to destroy that masculine image and put somebody in with that fluid gender nonsense and say she can be 007 too. Oh, hell no.
I understand. So, Mr. James, what do you think we could do to, or Hollywood should do to expand the role, since you stated they're being lazy?
I do believe that they're being lazy because what they're doing is, again, there's so much great material out there. If you wanted to do heroines, I mean, I'm a writer of heroines, and I create positive images of black womanhood and some images of black mothers and wives. I mean, there's plenty of material out there to be produced and adapted, and Hollywood just doesn't want to do it because, again, they want to push this far-left agenda where they take these male roles and these male icons and strip them of their masculinity and turn them into these feminine roles to make these women appear to be stronger than they actually are. And I talked about this in one of my live streams, how they tear down the man to build up the woman. And again, it's just not necessary to do that, again, because there's all this material out here, but nobody has the courage to go out here and produce it. For example, I wrote an entire princess story with a black princess and a black prince, but Hollywood wouldn't want to do that because it has messages in there that Hollywood doesn't want to do, things like talking about the role of the black father, the role of the mother, things that were in Disney movies, but they don't want to put it with a black image because it would promote the positive image of the black family and positive images of black manhood. Most importantly, a father modeling manhood for his daughter and presenting a positive image for black people. They don't want to see that because it runs counter to what Hollywood is really all about, which is promoting their agendas.
Right.
Yeah.
Judge, before I ask someone else, do you have anything you want to say to that? I'm going to toss it to Mr. Jackson here in just a second.
I agree with him. That's exactly what they're doing. There are black writers out there, and they blackball us. They won't give us any slack. And they bring in, Dr. McStuffins, cute little black girl, 7 years old. She's got a necklace, brings toys and stuffed animals to life, and she doctors on them. All right? Sounds good. Her mother is a physician. She looks like she got a booty they took off Minaj. And her little drone, useless husband, Black, frumps around the house with a frilly little apron on as he cooks and cleans, and she brags about how well he can cook and keep house. And he tells everybody that's his role because he wants to support his wife. So her little 5 to 6 year old brother looks like an idiot, and so do all the other boys. Then it turns out there are 5 white lesbians that are responsible for the show. So they pick black imagery in order to get their sick message across. See, that's what they do.
Right.
We have black people that write stuff, but we can't get any daylight.
Right. Okay. So, Mr. Jackson, you spoke from a socially conscious perspective, do you think that this is going to pit the black women against men? You think this is going to be the great divide, bigger divide in our community? Do you think that that will be the result, or that's what's happening now?
Well, that's not just what's happening now. That's been going on for a long time. And if you go back to movies like The Color Purple, or the worst one that I ever seen was the movie Set It Off. In the movie Set It Off, every black male character in the movie was a terrible person, and the women had to take it upon themselves to go out and try to get something for them and their children. And Queen Latifah played the role of the lesbian masculine woman who steps up to lead in the place of the black man and ends up, as often is the case, being more damaging than even a man would be. But anyway, this is just the latest step in that. And there is already a huge schism that exists between the black man and the black woman, and they want that to they definitely want that to continue, because again, that's going to further hamper our ability to build families, which is the number one thing that we have to do. So you asked the question, what can Hollywood do to make this better? But I think that's an unrealistic question, because Hollywood doesn't want to make it better. Hollywood is the bastion of gender fluidity, homosexuality, every anti-black traditional value that you can think of. They're against it. So to ever expect them to do anything or to promote images that push the straight black family unit, that's never going to happen. So we have to promote our own imagery and our own standard for what we want. And that's why down here we started a thing called Straight Black Family Month. And that's this month, Straight Black Pride Month or Straight Black Family Month. Because we just came from a whole month where all you saw was LGBT and rainbows every time you turned on the TV or got on the internet. And we know that that's counter to anything that we need or need to be pushing. So we got to push our own imagery. We got to push our own narratives. And that's why independent filmmakers like Tariq Nasheed and other black filmmakers that are outside of Hollywood and outside of that power structure, that's going to be the only way that we can push the imagery that we need to see.
All right. Judge I'm about to toss it to Suicide to find out what he thinks this is teaching the young children, being that that's who he works closely with. Do you have anything you'd like to say? And also, please, guys, put yourself on mute because there's some nasty feedback, and the other stations will not replay this recording if our audio is poor. So if you know that you got some scratchy sounds or something, I don't know where it's coming from, and I don't want to mute the mics, but please go on and do it yourself. Judge, do you have anything you'd like to say regarding what Mr. Jackson or Mr. James introduced?
I agree with both of them. It's observation. You're not going to get Hollywood to change because they are on a railroad track pushing their agenda, and they've got a long freight train with 5 locomotives in front trying to run it through.
So real quick to both you, the judge, and Attorney Jackson, is there not such a thing as Black Hollywood? Is that not considered Hollywood? Or because we have a lot of black writers and producers and directors.
Yeah, but they don't get a chance to do anything, hardly.
When I think about Black Hollywood, well, number one, what independent power do they have to produce images and narratives that don't have to get approved, just like the rap music? The reason you hear every rapper talking about killing black people and you never hear him say killing an Asian person or killing a Jewish person is because it won't get approved by the people who run the record companies, Universal and Sony and all of that stuff. And it's the same thing in Hollywood. The reason why you won't get a film like what Tariq Nasheed did with the 1804 on the Haitian Revolution, the reason why you won't get movies like that that empower black people and break their narratives is because it wouldn't get approved by the people who control the power structure. And when I think of the most powerful person when it comes to film and media in America that's black today, That's Tyler Perry and Oprah Winfrey, and they both are 100% on board with the gender fluidity movement. And so, of course, they're not going to put out any images that counter that.
And for Oprah, are you listening?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The name
Yes,
is
sir.
Roger King. Roger King discovered Oprah. He discovered Phil. He told me before he died, he said, you can do much if you don't have to take credit for it. He put all her money to work. He did the investments for her. He put her in a position of becoming very wealthy. But Oprah's whole thing was she is the poster child for ugly, stay-at-home female America. So if Oprah can do it, there's hope for everybody. And Oprah's thing for years and years has been to subtly or not so subtly down black men. She doesn't like black men. Tyler Perry hates his daddy and hates black men. He's gay. She's gay. She and Gail. So you got somebody that fits into their crowd that does what they do to spread poison and dysfunction. Just think about all of the money that's made by black folks sitting in there, filling up these shows, looking at that tranny Tyler Perry play Medea.
That's a fact.
And all of the poison that gets spread. And then see, John Singleton was a good man. He's dead now, but he came up with, what was it, Malcolm? And I made a whole bunch of people I put on probation go see Malcolm. So I'd go to the shows. And they would have...
I think that was Spike Lee. Wasn't it Spike Lee?
Spike Lee, excuse me.
Yeah.
Well, whichever one it was. That's not really the point.
Yeah, it was Spike Lee.
Spike Lee, yeah, okay. The point is this. I would go there to see if the people I'd ordered to go there, it was hundreds, had in fact gone. So I get there and there'd be a huge line to see Malcolm. So I'd say, let me see your tickets. So invariably, when I looked at their tickets, it didn't say Malcolm X. It said Beauty and the Beast, Walt Disney. So I would have my uniform, one of my uniform bailiffs there with me, and I would have the management brought out, and I'd order him arrested and a $250,000 bond put on him for embezzlement and fraud if he did not take all of those tickets and reissue them to show Malcolm. You see, that's how they assign box office, is the tickets. I was in Houston, and I went by and saw the huge lines to see Malcolm. There was a lady friend that wanted to see it, so we were going, and I got a Beauty and the Beast ticket. So I threatened to call the FBI on. And then they gave me the ticket, and I said, if you don't do that for all these people. So they did it for everybody in line. I went to Dallas. They did the same thing. I went to Nashville. They did the same thing. See, they did that all across the country so they can say Spike Lee's movie Malcolm flopped, but Beauty and the Beast was so successful. I'd say 3/4 of the ticket sales that were attributed to Beauty and the Beast, which was airing at the same time, were actually Malcolm X. See, that's what they do. And there's no way substantially to get around that. So what I would suggest to black folk is get away from it, start reading and educating yourself. It's nice if you are a basketball fan to know LeBron's statistics, but it ain't getting you ahead in life.
Right. Gotcha. Now, guys, we are...
Go ahead.
Right.
All right.
We're down to our last 20 minutes, and I'm going to try and give you guys a chance to give your final words and also your contact information, so hang tight. I apologize to the callers. I cannot open up lines because I want to get today's panel, I want to get their information and also their promotions. So I want to ask you, Suicide. They say that it's been disputed that kids are not born gay, right? So what do you think that this, based on everything you heard today and your belief system, what do you think that this woman in this position is teaching our youth, being that you work so closely with them?
Man, they're trying to teach, pretty much, they're trying to teach men that they're not men, that they'd be better as women. They teach. I mean, they educate.
They're teaching that to the little
people
kids?
the wrong thing. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
look at TV. It's brainwashed. It's corrupt. It's corrupt. I control what my kids watch on TV. They corrupting the kids. They bringing it to the schools. They bringing it everywhere. And like the brother spoke earlier, because I do music, and I make music that's positive, that inspire people, that uplift people. I got a song called "Never Give Up" that's telling the youth, telling the kids, never give up. Life gets better. It'd be hard to get my music to these radio stations, to these platforms where it could be heard and be seen by a mass of people that's going to educate them. But if I was saying, oh, yeah, go out and go do drugs and, go shoot your neighbor and go blow the house up, it's everywhere. It's flooded. It's saturated with it. So, things got to be done about it for sure. Because, if not, 5 years from now, the way we headed, you think it's worse now? It's going to be terrible in the future.
All right. So before I get your final words, I want to read an excerpt from an article. I read the title earlier, and it says, Bond has become a brand platform, and a cynic would guess that the move to feminize 007 is less feminist than capitalist. How much money can you really make using Bond as an icon, selling formal wear to millennial men whose idea of dressing up is to match their flip-flops with their knit caps? Even the richest among them wear hoodies. A stylish 007 may be a forum to wear. And then it continues on talking about this is more about capitalism than anything else. It's not about feminists. It's about, so white people are kind of divided, I guess, at this point. And I don't know how long this conversation will go on, but this says that it doesn't necessarily lend to the treacherous territory in the Me Too era, and they don't see a reason why a woman can't be a Bond because she is just as capable of saving the world as anybody else, and can be sexy doing it. So I don't know. I got a lot of good points from this, and I am convinced I understand what you guys are saying now. I think they thought this was about money. This is about expansion. That's what I'm getting. I don't know. Hopefully this will reach someone and it'll change their mind, because I guess our war is bigger than we think, because they seem to always be ahead of us, Judge. It just seems like whenever we think we're catching up or making a dent, they got 15,000 more things, and they run faster and they got more money and, they can reach more people. So I don't know. That's why I'm not against people like Tariq Nasheed who create their movies and then, spread it out to people in our community. Because shouldn't we be doing that anyway, like educating our own, going to our own theaters, living in our own communities, teaching our own kids? Can this not be a good thing? You know what I'm saying? Like, shouldn't it push more black directors out of the dark to create things for us and stop worrying over, am I going to reach the mass and can I get in the major theaters and on the major channels and major this, major that? You don't think this will bring us out of hiding if stuff like this continues? Judge, real quick. Judge? Okay, maybe he's on mute.
Okay, here. I was on mute.
Okay.
The average woman that's involved in espionage for her country is basically playing a patriotic hoe. She seduces men. She uses her female wiles to get them to reveal stuff they wouldn't otherwise reveal to others. She may be an assassin who poisons or sneaks and snabs. She's not a power play special operative who comes in as a bold assassin who says, this is do or die. I'll take somebody down even if it costs me my life. That's not the way it works in the real live world. So why do they want to come in and get women into a position where they do this stuff that they've been doing for years, where they're supposed to be badass like men. That's not what women do. They'd get their asses kicked if they tried to do that in the real world. And a lot of women don't get it, try to emulate that, and they do get their asses kicked, which is one of the main driving engines behind all of this domestic violence. The boys are taught no longer that boys are stronger than girls and they shouldn't hit them. They get taught that they're just as strong as boys due to the propaganda we have out there, and they punch them. And then everybody's concerned about, oh, my God, worsening domestic violence. Well, you brought it on.
Mm-hmm. So, Judge, I want to ask you real quick, before we go around, they're really pushing Kamala Harris really, really hard. What are y'all going to do when there's a female president? What are we going to say the same thing?
It ain't going to happen. And she, by the way, she's not black. She's the fake Negro. Her daddy called her a liar and a fraud. But, I mean, I'm just talking woman. I'm just talking vagina. I'm just talking like you were saying a woman can, a woman can't. So you don't think we had a black president. There are too many women in this society. There are too many women in this society who work for female bosses and swear they'll never do it again in life, and they are not going to have somebody running the country that reminds them of that.
Okay, all right. So for the sake of time, I'll be quiet. All right, so I want to go around the board real quick, get your final words. What do you want people to take away from this conversation? Again, we're down to the last 10 minutes, so please make sure after you give your final word that you give your contact information as well, and we will leave the last 3 or 4 minutes to the judge to give his spiel regarding today's topic. So we will start with you, Suicide, since you were our VIP in the first half. What do you want people to take away from this? Suicide, are you there? All right, if you're on mute.
I was on mute. My phone was on mute.
Okay. All right.
What you say?
What are your final words? We're wrapping up, so you got about 2 minutes or so to give your final spiel, your final pitch to convince people, hey, there is an agenda and they need to wake up. Because I think a lot of us are woke-ish. So I want to ask the entire panel, do you have something to help people stay woke? Because I think our eyes are open, but we're woke-ish. So what is your last, what do you want people to take away from today's segment?
Oh man, pretty much. I mean, it's time to wake up. Right now, the time is now.
All right. And what is your contact information? I know you gave it to in the first half, but we're going to divide the segment up. So give your contact information again, please.
Well, all social media, OG Suicide, OGCUICIDE.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you. All right, so author Shawn James, are you there?
Okay. Yeah, I'm here.
Hi. So what would you like people to take away? You made some very, very good points today. So what would you like to say to your YouTubers? Also, make sure you shout that out. And also to people, especially our young listeners.
Well, I want them to become a lot more aware of the media that they're watching, because a lot of it these days, especially when it comes down to black people, is about social engineering. And what they want to do is socially engineer the idea that black women should prefer white men over the black men, and that they're trying to socially engineer the idea that little black girls should choose white men first. And the whole thing with this media is by trying to transpose masculinity on the black women. So that's something they need to look out for, and they need to be careful about what they have their kids watching, because the messages in that media can really destroy a child as they grow up.
All right, and what is your contact information, please?
My contact information is Facebook. Is my facebook.com/Shawn S. James. My Twitter is Shawn S. James. And you can pick up all of my books on Amazon.com. I have a great princess story, just like Disney princesses, called Easting the Sands of Time. That is a positive story about a black princess. And I have a couple of other positive books, like The Thetas, which is a sophisticated sorority story about a girl who learns about womanhood from other women.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much again for your time. I appreciate you. Love you to life. And I will definitely continue to support you on YouTube. Did you give us your YouTube name? I'm sorry, I'm multitasking.
My YouTube
Did you give us
name
your
is,
YouTube handle?
My YouTube handle is Shawn James, ShawnJames. You can find it by typing in Shawn James Writer on the search box.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. And a big shout out to Mo Duncan. He invited you, and also Attorney Jackson. And please go to MoFlyTees, MoFlyTees.com to show support for Maurice Duncan. All right. So Attorney Jackson over there in Duval County. What do you want to say to the socially conscious and also melanated writers who could take this opportunity to do something for the people in our community, male, female, young, and old?
Well, this is what I would say. You made a comment earlier about white rage and white people fearing that they're going to become the minority. And the reason they feel that way is because they have a tough time reproducing themselves right now. Their birth rate is very low. And they have a tough time in the sun. They just have a tough time. They know that time is getting short for them. And the number one thing that we can do for ourselves to ensure our survival and prosperity is to build strong black families based on the masculine-feminine balance. And so we have to be producing young men that want to be strong husbands and fathers and leaders. We have to be producing young women who are intelligent and want to be mothers and want to be nurturers and want to be teachers. And that's practical. That doesn't take a whole bunch of science or PhDs. Any person that's claiming to be about the community first has to be about the black family, because as Dr. John Henry Clark said, you're not going to rebuild a black community until you rebuild the black family. There's no nation building without family building. And so I would recommend a book by Baba Imlamu Baruti. It's called Homosexuality and the Effeminization of African Males. It's a very huge, very in-depth book that breaks down every issue in gender fluidity that you could think of. And if you don't want to read that book, I would recommend that they go listen to any lecture by Irritated Genie, and you can put them up on YouTube, and you can get an in-depth understanding of what's going on here. So, like I said,
tell us the name of the book one more time. Say that again. Just make it clear.
The name of the book is Homosexuality and the Effeminization of African Males. And in that book, Baba Baruti, you made a comment earlier about what the children are born gay. Black African children are. And in that book, Baba Baruti traces the lineage of homosexuality and pedophilia, which goes back to Greece and pre-Greece, but it's not even an African issue whatsoever. But anyway, we need to be building straight black families, and we need to be pushing imagery that encourages that. If we can have imagery that encourages pimps and ghetto housewives and ghetto baby mamas, we can have imagery that encourages strong black families and promotes that. So anything outside of a black man being a strong man, anything outside of the black woman being the nurturer and the teacher that she's supposed to be, any flip-flopping and mix-matching is an attack on what we need to be doing right now.
All right. And Attorney, can you please go on and give your contact information, please?
The easiest way to contact me is on Instagram, Attorney Awesome. That's just the word attorney, the word awesome. Also, we have a page for our organization, which is BPM Duval Chapter. And on YouTube, it's Attorney Awesome BPM. And on Facebook, it's just Vernon Jackson, my payroll name. So those are the easiest ways as far as my social media to keep up with what we're doing as an organization and with me personally.
All right. And thank you so much to our panel today. I appreciate you guys so much. I am Valerie Denise Jones, ValerieDeniseJones.com, or go to PhiloTheGreat.com. Next week on the Judge Joe Brown Show, MC Shawn. I love him because he was born on September the 6th. That means he's a Virgo. He will be with us, joining us here live. He's an American hip-hop and R&B recording artist, best known for his song The Bridge, produced by Marley Marl, and for collaborating with Snow on Informer. All right, so that was the international #1 hit single. So he will be here next Friday, starting at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, so Judge, as tradition suggests, I want to give you the last few words because I want to make sure you hit home on your message to let everybody know what is going on. So do that as well as shout out your social media.
The message is that beware of what somebody is trying to get you to approve of. If they wanted to take the plot line of James Bond retiring and somebody getting 007 inheriting it, there are many black men, including some English actors, who could have had the role. But they didn't do that because they had an ulterior motive, which is to destroy masculinity and put a split between the black woman and the black man, also to engender some negative socialization and acculturation by doing this fluid gender thing of saying that all roles are appropriate for both genders. Some of them are not. Just like posing as a fashion model is not appropriate for men, being a badass government assassin is not one of them for women. But you see, they didn't take a white woman to do it. They took a black one. So they used the black woman to destroy the masculine imagery of James Bond. They may go back to it, but the bottom line is the damage is still done. Now, that's just the way of it. So be cautious what you deal with. Keep strong, read, study, develop an information base that lets you have an opinion that is a good one. All right?
Right. And suggest, what's the book? Remember, you're supposed to do that every Friday. Give us something to read, a homework assignment. What's that
okay,
homework assignment?
I did. The book that I would suggest you read is a heavy one. It's heavy reading, but you should read it. The first edition came out in 2014, and the most recent edition, second edition, came out last year. It's Humans from the Beginning, and the author is Christopher Seddon, 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 and the title is Humans from the Beginning. You can get that on Amazon, download the Kindle app, which is free, and you can send it to that if you pick the electronic book. I think it's $5 to $6.95, something like that. And then you can access all of the footnotes and go to them, and it's quite informative. The book is laid out so in the first part of each section, they discuss the development of theories, and then they give you the latest two and most current theories on it, the two of them toward the end of the section. And then they tie it in with what's going on. It might surprise you. For the most part, having been deep into anthropology and history, I'd have to say it pretty much matches the results of my own research.
Yes, sir. All right, so we got 60 seconds. Judge, please shout out your Twitter. And, again, thank you to our panel. We love you guys for life. And we'll see you guys on Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
My unverified Twitter account is @JudgeJoeBrownTV. They won't give me a blue check. Anyway, @JudgeJoeBrownTV. And every 2,600 some likes, followers I get, they give me about 25 or 30 of them.
Appreciate you, Judge. We love you so much, and we will see you next week, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Guys, thank you. Please, I hope you enjoyed today. I really, really do. And thank you to Attorney Jackson.
I'll be in touch, too, Mr. Joe Brown.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Ali. I see.
Give me a J. Yay. Give me an O. O. Give me an E. E. What's that spell? Yo. What's that spell? Yo. What's that spell? Yo.
The Judge Joe Brown Show, presented by Valerie Denise Jones. Uncensored truth with a legal twist.
Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, E-Steam: The Sands of Time. It's action and adventure in ancient Egypt in this terrific teen time travel romance. Get your copy of E-Steam: The Sands of Time at your favorite online bookseller today.